All right, honey's done finally. We can catch up on a little bit of sleep. Still pretty wore out and beat up from all the extraction. This is technically the last yard that could have honey, but I swung by here yesterday, popped some lids. I didn't see anything that was capped. We will just double check. It's possible there could be a few boxes. I really doubt it. I'm probably just gonna call honey's over. I don't want to go in there and extract for a couple boxes. We can redistribute it here just because I know most of these are boxes of foundation. I haven't been here in this yard since I think it was like the first week of June. So it's been almost 2 months since we've really dug into these. And if you guys remember this yard, although, you know, it looks like a jungle has grown in there, it looks a little different. Almost this entire yard was queenless, I think mostly due to swarming, and they were double deeps. We cracked in half, probably yanked the queens out of them. We tried to fix them, but it's been 2 months, so I don't know what they're going to look like. I think we gave them like a frame of brood and a cell or something, so I don't know what's going to be here. This is our largest yard. I don't even know what's here. I stopped counting after a while. I got so tired of counting, so there's 110, 120. I have no idea. We'll find out once we run through them. But if there is any honey, maybe we'll take it. Maybe I'll leave it. We'll find out. I'm going to feed them, medicate them. And then once this is finished, we're just going to start going around to the other bee yards, our 2-story yards, the ones that actually made honey, and just queen checking them, fixing them, feeding them, and medicating them. And that'll probably take a couple weeks. And then I can have an inventory, an updated inventory on how many hives that are alive. Of course, we're counting how many queenless colonies we have now. And I'm counting how much foundation is in each yard on average. And that's going to help us determine about that third semi, or whether it's possible or not. Man, look at that grass. That's brutal. You know, I had sprayed this yard pretty hard last time we were here, and most of the grass was dead. And man, it sure comes back. When it rains every day like this, you just, even if you're mowing, you've got to mow every week just to keep the grass down. When it gets like this, I'll just take the Bobcat with a honey pallet or something and kind of crush it just so we can walk a little bit. I hate they didn't draw anything out just because these are all those new boxes and new frames. What I'm thinking about doing, I'm not sure yet, is I'm going to take the excluder off of these 5.5s and just leave these, probably are going to be boxes of foundation on there. And we're going to try, I try every year, but to draw foundation out from syrup. We're going to try it again. Last year I did it with a 2-to-1 syrup. It may have even been a little thicker, but at least a 2-to-1. And they had old frames, you know, there was no like fresh wax on the foundation. These are new frames, you know, wax on the foundation, and we're going to be giving them a 1-to-1 syrup. So I don't know. I'm probably wasting my time. I try it every year. I keep tinkering, trying to draw foundation post-spring. And, you know, you get lucky. There's a couple of frames here and there, but I can't, like, there's no process that I can just recreate that just makes them make foundation. It's, if I get it, it's kind of a bonus, and it's usually probably because there's a natural nectar flow coming on in somewhere else, like goldenrod or something. I do see a lot of flowering plants along the road that are blooming, so there should be a lot of natural pollen in here, even though now we're entering August. I just don't really know what these hives are gonna look like. It's gonna be a pretty long day tearing through all these. They looked so bad last time, but I really have been dreading doing this yard, and that's why it's been 2 months since we've done it, because I knew it was going to be a grind, and you know, I also saw they weren't making honey. So I don't know. We're gonna get started, and we'll see what happens here. Check this out. This hive, it was a little single, and it was bad sig. I think I filmed it on an old video when we were here. Had a huge brood disease. I suspected it was EFB, but you know, I was not totally sure. I hit it with 1 dose of TerraPro, which is terramycin and some vitamins and minerals. And you know, 2 months later I've come back, and the broods, you see, a bit spotty, but the camera's not picking it up well. It's spotty because they're backfilling it with a lot of fresh pollen. I'm seeing that in a lot of the colonies. They're bringing in an orange pollen and a yellow pollen, and there's quite a bit of it. But I was going to try to requeen this hive, so there would be a brood break, and I think I had said that in the video, and then when I tried to pinch her off video, you know, she flew away, and I was not able to find her again. She was a small dark queen, so I just hit them with TerraPro. But yeah, it looks like it's cleared up, and there is a lot of eggs and larvae on some other frames, and it looks very healthy. So I know TerraPro you're supposed to hit multiple times, and I honestly never do, just because I can't. But it did seem like it worked. The hive is doing pretty good. Give them one more dose just to be sure. We're not quite done, almost, but I'm about to run out of daylight here. I'm about to lose a little bit of sunlight we've got left. Got here this morning, and I guess we're going to be leaving here tonight. Looks like it. We still have to put buckets on everything. We've still got all this equipment, frames, stuff scattered around. Everything was going really good on this section. We pulled the excluders off. There was really no honey. Lots of little partial frames. I swear it seems like the other locations where they were actually drawing frames still were just recently shut down. They didn't really seem robbing too bad at first. They did start robbing a little bit later because we had a thunderstorm came, but it passed and things seemed to clear up. So we pulled the excluder off and left them on if they were good and they were queen right and healthy for the hive and a halves. And everything was still going really good along here. They were all very strong, super healthy. There was the one hive we had, we had to give Tara last time is better now. I didn't see any damage. I saw a single mite in the whole yard, just eyeballing it, and no brood disease whatsoever. However, when we get to here, the yellow flags means it was queenless, and actually these weren't queenless. They were slammed dead. Beetles had kind of gotten into them, and this is when things started going bad. It was just queenless. Well, it was dead. That one was alive. They were okay. They weren't great. And then look, it was dead. So I usually what I do is I keep working forward in the yard when I'm working. I don't like to move backwards. And in this case, I had no choice because some of these hives were so bad. I had to just go back down the line, the hives that had already worked, put back together, and just to pull brood out of them. I did rebuild all the flag colonies with 4 brood. Some of them had honey if they hadn't been robbed out. Some were just queenless. Most of them are completely dead, robbed out. Beetles were moving into them. But I think we were able to salvage the comb by giving them 4 frames of brood with bees. I gave them a couple frames of honey. We still medicated everybody. Of course, we're about to put syrup buckets on. We don't have much comb left. We've only got those 30 or so deep boxes we extracted the other night. And so we're trying to spread it around lightly. All these doubles here, these were singles where we were trying to make honey off of. So most of these are deep boxes of foundation, but we did give them 2 or 3 frames of new comb to kind of get them up there. All the brood boxes, for the most part, are pretty solid comb. So they've got at least 10 frames of comb plus 2 or 3 up there. And hopefully they'll do something with it. But these were just pretty weak. And these are all queen right. I got kind of lucky on this row along here. And they were all pretty good. And then I hit a pallet of just like 4 completely dead. There was a 5th one here. So then I had to go backwards, pull back from there, the hives that already worked. And the problem is these are just singles. So it's not like you can hard to pull like a full hive to rebuild one when you have one that's completely slammed dead. There was only one hive we were not able to rebuild. It was this one here. The moss had gotten to it and beetles, just too bad. The comb was lost. But every other hive we were able to at least attempt to save. We didn't flag these singles here yet. I got to do that in a minute. All the singles in this row were also queenless and were dead. And this row was just very, very bad. As you can see, all those singles were queenless ones. And so it was very difficult to find enough brood to fix them all. And the other problem is we don't have cells. We don't have mated queens. So we're basically doing a queenless split, same yard split. And you also have to account for the bees drifting back to their original parent colony when you put them in a foreign colony. So it was risky, but I saw the other day, I went back to check on the ones we'd built a few weeks ago and they were looking pretty good. So we're like, you know what, let's keep doing it. We can't afford to have this many colonies. I haven't even counted yet on how many queenless are out here, but it's substantial. I mean, we got all the flags here, the singles over there. I don't even know. I'm exhausted. It was really a pretty crappy day today. Going through everything. I will say, because we had to pull from almost every queen right colony to repair these dead colonies, we mark the queens as we find them. So most of the queens in this location are marked. So that's a plus if we have to come back. We should be able to have queen cells probably ready that are capped in about 5 weeks. That's my guess based off last year's numbers. So as long as we built these things strong enough to stay alive for another 5 weeks, and I think we did, because I mean they survived for the most part, or at least the comb was salvageable even after 8 weeks, and that was our last visit. We might have some cells to patch them up. Of course, we're not going to have queens until October, so no hope there. I don't know, this is a brutal day. I mean, it took all day, and obviously we're still working here. We were able to save some comb because we've got some other yards that still need comb we need to spread around. And there's not much else to say other than just we're going to clean up those syrup buckets. Again, everybody was medicated. We've got all the hives identified that were queenless, that had problems. And I don't know. We are going to leave these third boxes here in an attempt to try and draw them out, especially because I did see several frames that seemed like the bees were still producing or wax and working on them. So I'm hoping with the 1-to-1 syrup we're about to hit them with, they're going to continue to draw them out, because we really could use some of this hopefully comb here to fix up a lot of these. They're now double deeps. That's, not really. They're really singles with mostly a box foundation on them. So we need these strong hiving amps to give some comb here, because we just don't have any comb left. And this yard is a really good California yard, so we really need to make sure everybody's queen right and healthy and established before the fall pollen starts coming in next month. So still a lot to do. This yard was a total disaster. I think we did fix all of the issues, but time will only tell if they are queen right and survive, and if they make it, and we'll just have to see. We managed to get it done in the end. Got a count on everything. There's 118 colonies here. 29 were dead or queenless, and we rebuilt. So about 25% of the yard we would have lost if we hadn't come here and fixed them. So we did good today. It was definitely needed. 8 weeks is way too long to put off a yard. But tried to make things right and got everybody in good shape. We'll just have to hope those 29 end up queening themselves. If not, it should be easier to fix them now that everything's 2-story colonies without the excluder. Some of them will queen, and the queens are marked. So I hope this is the last time we have to really tear through it like this, because that was pretty brutal. But we got it done. Not sure if this will pick this up, but there must be 24 dragonflies flying around. That's not bees out there that's flying around, it's all dragonflies. I'm out here filling the syrup buckets, and I'm just watching them. They're just swooping down, eating the bees. I love dragonflies, but I don't like them having them here where we have our mating yard, because if you ever see a huge cluster of dragonflies like that, they love eating queen bees when they're on their orientation and mating flights. So I really, really believe that's what's causing some of our yards to have that bad 50% mating rate. But this is some of the most I've ever seen. No, I mean, they eat mosquitoes too, so I'm glad for that. I just wish they wouldn't eat my queens. I know they're fat and juicy, but please don't eat them. We're almost done with the buckets. I got this cage here, and we got a little bit here I'm filling. We've called out a lot of these old totes here. We're filling up with old buckets. At first, I was just throwing away the ones that were busted. But yeah, somebody mentioned in the comments, they're like that the syrup was about the same price as the bucket, and I did look up the price of buckets, and it's pretty close. The bucket's a little more expensive than the syrup, especially when you factor in shipping costs and all that, but it's still pretty darn close. And so I think for the last few yards we have to fill, we're gonna ordered new buckets. So I threw away, I don't know, hundreds. We got a bunch. We've been slowly throwing them away as we can spit them in the trash can. And so we ordered about 400 more. We actually got them from Uline. We used to order them from the Carry Company, and they're actually cheaper at the Carry Company. But Uline, when you factor in shipping, it's cheaper. At the scale, when we buy like a pallet load, it's always you have to get them on freight, and the semis are like 400 bucks a pop. So they're not cheap. But neither is, every time I go out there, the entire bottom row of buckets are busted. So I did throw away some of the buckets that were just kind of getting iffy, and to get ahead of the breaking. Another thing I was noticing is every time I go under here with the bobcat forks, and I lift it up, that metal there on the bottom is very thin, and I think the forks are just putting a lot of upwards pressure on it. So, and because we try to pick the best buckets and put them on the bottom, the newest ones, but they can't handle it. So what I'm thinking to do is take a solid pallet. We have our honey pallets. They've got a solid heavy top, and I can probably take these and put them on the honey pallet, and if it works, I might even just mount them on there, put some kind of mounting plates or something. and that would stop that upper pressure on that bottom metal there. And I think it wouldn't break so many buckets, because I don't want to break all these new buckets we just bought. So that may also be an option. We could also just not go 4 high. That may be just pushing it, but it's very convenient. You see how nice they fit in there. It's very snug. It works really well, but I don't know. The system needs some improvement. You know, it works a little bit, but it's definitely costing us money every time I pick these things up, because they'll be fine here. I can fill them up here. They're no problem, but I pick those suckers up and I put them on the truck and I go down a bumpy dirt road, just crush the bottom layer. So anyways, we got some new buckets coming in, and hopefully we won't break so much anymore. Rendering down some of the last batch of beeswax we made this season. This is all the wax cappings that was coming out of the wax separator. See, there's some dead bees in there floating in the top, but most of that should be wax. It's pretty full. That's a pretty good amount. I'm going to run it through a little straining net I have. I think it's a paint strainer for 5-gallon buckets. I started doing that last year, and it was fantastic. So I'm going to do the same thing this year. I'll probably render it and melt it. Usually I do it about 3 times to really get it good and clean. This first time, all I'm really interested in is getting the chunks out, getting the dead bees out. If there's anything, a broken frame can be in there, who knows. And so it doesn't have to look pretty the first time around. We just want to get it somewhat clean. Got one small block already. It's in pretty good shape. This is the paint strainer here. It goes in the 5-gallon bucket. It's got an elastic band. I'll just loop it around. Can't do it with one hand. I don't care if it's a little dirty for the first round of straining, because there's a lot of just junk and trash in there, I'm sure. But once we try to get it a little purer like this, I'll throw this away and we'll use a new one. And that way you end up with a cleaner wax. See, this one still has some debris in it, but it's pretty good. I mean, it probably needs one more melting, but I'm going to wait and do the last of this, and then all the blocks I have this is the first round of straining, that's what will come out. I'll render all this down and do it a second, and probably a third time, just to get it really good and clean. Oh yeah, see, there's probably some wax in there. A lot of that looks like burnt honey, water. Wax separator drops a lot of water when it's cutting wax. Usually the honey, the wax will float to the top of the melter, and you'll get a lot of water, a lot of debris. Man, it's hot. Okay, that's good. And then what I'll do, see, there's a lot of junk in there. I just pull this out. It's real easy to come off. I just pull it on up and out of there. You see the junk it's still got in there in the bottom. Not too bad, really. I don't think there's much wax in there, but what I'll do is I'll just let this sit overnight, and I'll do a bunch of buckets just like this, and by the time I get to the bottom of the top of the melter there, that'll be mostly the wax, but you never know. Oh, see, I got a bunch of sludge here. You can see, I don't know if you can tell on the bottom, there's actually some good wax coming out of there, but I just got a big chunk of just junk, and it's clogged it up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump this in an empty bucket, and some of the sludge will separate from the wax. I can shave it off with my hive tool, but it's just too much. I don't want to dump it out because there's still a lot of good wax in here. But I'm not going to sit here and hold it for 15 minutes either to let it strain. I dumped all that sludge in that bag in here, and believe it or not, there's still quite a bit of good wax in there. Bees are already coming to it. This was some sludge I dumped out of a bucket a while back. See, there was a good wax, but it's still mixed in with a lot of that just dark junk. This stuff I've got to really strain separately from like a block like this, or it'll contaminate it. There's that bucket that had all that sludge in there. That would have been mixed with all that wax. That's solid wax. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to come out just like this. But that bag there saved everything. And just me dumping it out, it's still pretty clean. You know, it's clean enough just to be for the first pass through. This was the very first bucket. I can see a little bit. It's got like a yellow glisten to it. It's got some wax in there. See? It won't be much. It'll be a thin film at the top, but we sell this stuff for $10 a pound, so it's definitely worth taking the time to do it. Okay, this one should be a lot cleaner. Let's see. Oh yeah, that is pure golden beeswax coming out of there. Nice. Let's see. Still got still a good amount in the melter here. Whoa, clogged up. Look at that. That's nice wax there. Beautiful. Oh yeah. That's gonna be a 5-gallon bucket of solid wax. Look at that. That is an almost perfect 5-gallon bucket of pure wax. No debris. This one, I don't even know if this one will need to be melted again. Maybe one time. There might be some little speckles of stuff in there. That is nice. That is some beautiful wax. That looks to be about it from the tank. Let's see here. Yep, there's still a little bit in there. You can see that golden. We're pretty much at the bottom. A lot of sludge. I'll let this drain for a little bit. Usually I'll let it cool, and then you know, I'll break apart, scrape, see if there's anything in there worth saving. But that little bit there in the back, see, there's a film. I can probably get all that. It's just gonna have to drip for a little bit. We got that's definitely a solid 5-gallon bucket, and I'd say there's 2 or 3 gallons there, and we'll get a little bit there. I don't know, 8 gallons maybe of probably going to be solid wax once we finish straining it all. It's not bad. Yeah, that nasty bucket's already starting to solidify a little bit. You see, there's still some wax in there. Man, the bees, every time I melt wax, and I guess I would say the bees love it, I guess the snails do too. They come over here and they, unfortunately, love to kill themselves. They love to jump in the wax, and of course they don't survive when it's whatever the wax is at, 150 degrees or something, but they're just so attracted by that smell, which it does smell like honey. It smells great. So I was able to remove the 200-mile countdown warning on the truck. I did dump the DEF injector fluid cleaner into the DEF tank. I took everything off the truck, disconnected the trailer. I took it down on the highway and ran it pretty darn hard, 70, 75 miles per hour. Tried to get the temperature up. I thought maybe I could blow the DEF injectors clean, or sometimes the DEF tank will crystallize if it sits for a long time, and I thought maybe that would break the crystals up. Anyways, drove around like crazy, got home, and there was still a check engine light. Countdown was still dropping. You know, at that point I was down to I had 100 miles left before the truck said it just wasn't going to crank anymore. It's kind of freaking out, and I got my code reader and I plugged it in to check the check engine light, and there was a nitrogen oxide sensor error, and that pops up from time to time. You know, every month, every few months, it'll pop up, and usually I clear it, but my code reader had gotten damaged. I think I just stuck it in at night or something. We had some kind of issue with the truck. Anyways, I had bent one of the pins on the code reader. I thought it was broken, but I was able to just carefully rebend the pins, and when I was able to plug it back in, I saw it was still the nitrogen oxide code that was getting thrown, like it has for about as long as we've had the truck. And I cleared the code, and it hasn't come back up, so it's been running. It also removed that 200-mile countdown warning. And I did look up, I guess the nitrogen oxide sensor has to do with emissions control, and when the truck is, you know, I guess putting out too many emissions or has a problem with the DEF system, these trucks want to shut down just to, I don't know, reduce pollution. So I don't know. We've been driving around for about a week and I have not had any more problems. I'm just going to have to, I guess, periodically clear that code as it pops up, which, you know, should be easy to do, but I will see. She's running for now. Finally coming to check on this new yard that we got this year. I haven't been here since I moved them in July 1st. There was that box. I tried moving that at night. I remember the smoker had died on me. I ran out of pine straw. I got tore up. They're looking pretty good. It's been a while since I've checked on them. They were good before. You know, we made tupelo off these, and then made a wildflower crop right behind it. Usually those yards that do double duty like that, to make 2 honey crops back to back, the mites get really bad on them. But man, they're still bowling out of there. There's some bad boxes though. Well, all right, we're gonna try to go through these. We're gonna give them some food, medicine, just queen check them. Hopefully they're doing good. Look at that. Not only was that box smashed and knocked all the way back, but I didn't even straighten the lid. I'm usually pretty paranoid about that because I'm always scared of the rain and stuff, but it looks like they're doing fine. That's amazing. It has rained darn near every day since we moved them in, seems like. But I guess the bees are holding out. We'll have to open it up and see. Yeah, I missed that lid too, man. I was doing a terrible job moving these bees. Well, they're looking okay from here. Even with a busted box and them hanging off the edge, the pallet and the lid hanging off. Man, they look good. And both of them made it. This one did good too. That's great. Looks like they made some honey here too. Look at that. So far, these hives are really strong. They've got drone pupa on them. They are absolutely packed full of honey. I'm seeing what looks like fresh nectar. There's a lot of fresh pollen. You can see there's more capped drone brood there. Yeah, I'm seeing several frames of drone brood. Huh. That's very, very good. Look how good that looks. More drone pupa. Top box here. They don't need food, that's for sure. They are completely honey bound. They're looking fantastic. I did find one here that's queenless. But man, we have more than enough resources to rebuild that little one. They're looking really nice. Brood's looking really healthy. I'm not seeing any mite damage. They are just packed full of brood. Man, that's really nice. I just pulled 4 really nice frames of mixed brood with the bees out of this really strong colony here and just dumped them right there in the center of this colony. No cells, no queens, of course, but seeing how good this yard looks, I honestly, I'm not too worried about it. These things are so packed out with brood. This one's got 7 frames of brood. That whole center section pretty much. A couple frames of honey. The rest is just brood. I didn't even look in the medium box. There's probably some up here too. Man, if we had comb, this would be a great yard to come around and just pull nukes out of, but if we make any splits, we'd have to hit them with foundation, so that's not what we want to do. But what we're thinking is, we brought all these syrup buckets. I think we're going to come back tomorrow and just give them a box of foundation here on the top, no excluder, and then give them the syrup buckets. They're just completely honey bound. They're way too packed out. There are some cups here, you see. A lot of them have it, but I haven't seen any eggs in them. But it's possible they could swarm. So that foundation, are they going to draw this time of year? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not super hopeful for it, but why not? You know, it's sitting at the house in the yard with a tarp over it. But why not at least put it here? The bees will keep it clean. They're clearly more than strong enough to protect a deep box of foundation. And then that 1-to-1 syrup we're going to give them should help. I'm still not seeing any signs of mite damage, so we're still going to medicate them because I'm sure it's here. I mean, it's August. That's the time to medicate whether you see mites or not in my area, in my opinion. But we'll give the foundation here a try too, see what happens. Literally dripping with honey. Look at that. These things are monsters. Wow. Oh, yard's done. Looks really good. Only 3 queenless hives in the end. We were able to rebuild them really strong. We did decide to go ahead and just leave the buckets here for today, and we'll come back, put some supers on with foundation to see if they will draw anything. We're going to mark this yard because it's so extremely strong. The whole yard is. We're going to mark it as a donor yard. So if we need to shake bees for the minis in September, this is a potential yard to shake bees from. If we need to pull brood to boost up, we've got a couple hundred singles at the house. They probably are in rough shape. I haven't been in them in a while. They probably need a little boost before fall. You know, this is a yard that can do that. The nice thing is seeing this yard, there's 3 yards that all came from like this same core group of colonies, those couple hundred we put in Tupelo. So seeing that this yard's doing so good, it's very likely that the other 2 yards are doing good. And then we had our kind of second, maybe we thought Tupelo yard that ended up not being Tupelo, look just as good as these core group of hives. So that means probably the yards that we have left for the most part are going to just be really good. So hopefully we can just queen check, patch up a few that are going to be queenless, and medicate them. And we may also have to bring supers for those too. We probably will next time when we go check those other colonies. And maybe we'll get some more foundation. That'd be great. A lot of rotten, especially medium boxes for here. I don't know why there's so many, but we need to change out some boxes. Still a few bad deep boxes. We changed out the really bad ones, but we need to bring in some of the new pressure treated ones. And that's really it. There's really nothing else to do for this yard other than give them a little space and a little food, and they're pretty good. Buckets are delivered. We already ripped into them. It's like Christmas morning. Semi's in here. He just backed right on in the driveway. He's gonna pull right on out. Nice guy. Look at these, so much better. Same thickness as the white buckets. We decided to try the black plastic this time because we do have some black 1-gallon buckets that we bought years and years ago, and they're still great. Like, they look like the day I bought them. I don't know if it's something to do with the color of the plastic. I really have no idea. Maybe they were UV resistant buckets. These are not advertised as UV resistant, so we might get the same amount of time out of as the white buckets. They only had white lids, so we're gonna have a mixed color. What we did learn is that Uline offers all kinds of color buckets. They got like blue and orange and pink and green or whatever the heck, which not that I really care about the color, but I was thinking every year we could start cycling these buckets out and get ahead before they start getting brittle. So, you know, this year we'll order black. I don't know, next year we'll order blue, and the next year we can order green, and that'll help us track the age of the buckets. And once we figure out roughly how many years we're getting out of them, we can start cycling them out before we put them in these cages and crush and, you know, dump 100 gallons of syrup on the ground all the time. But yeah, we're gonna get these assembled and start getting them filled, and keep getting out and feeding those big 2-story colonies. Oh, there he goes. See you, buddy. We're trying to reinforce the bottom of these cages so the new buckets don't break. Cut a piece of plywood here, and it runs the whole bottom of the cage here. And I think it's gonna just create a more uniform layer, because you can see it's got this lip here. So when we didn't have this, sometimes the bucket would kind of be slanted. You'd have part of it stuck up high on this lip, and then it would kind of lay down. And then when you went 4 high, it was just so much weight. A lot of the buckets would break here, which the new ones may not, but you know, they won't be new forever. And the sun's already beating on it. They're already scalding hot too. That black plastic is really, really hot here in the August sun. But they look really nice. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a good idea. I still think it's probably also a good idea for me to mount them to one of our solid honey pallets and just bolt them down. And maybe a combination of having this additional support as well as a pallet, I think will help stop them breaking so much. Another issue we have is where normally this is where the syrup comes out, you know, that has the little valve. They would fall down in this hole. And I used to have little pieces of plywood like this that would kind of lay on top. But, you know, also it makes, you know, the same thing. Some of the buckets are not level because it's got this, you know, plywood it's sitting on. So I don't know, I think this plus the honey pallet's gonna be pretty good. It helps them space better too, because when sometimes the buckets can get stuck in these corners when the plywood's not there, just because they can kind of almost get shoved out of that hole a little bit. So it creates an uneven balance. With the plywood, you can see we've got a nice little pattern here, 4, 4, 4, and 4. They seem pretty well spaced out. There's still kind of a gap here that when we stack the buckets too high, they could kind of teeter over. Again, not really worried about it with the new ones, because the lids are going to be so strong, the support's going to be really good. I don't think they're going to fall over. We won't really know till we field test it, but a little bit of extra effort I think is going to save us a lot of headache and a lot of money down the road when it comes to busted buckets and lost syrup. All right, back at this yard. Threw on deep boxes of foundation, all brand new, the brand new frames that we bought this year, 2 gallons of 1-to-1 syrup. We actually made a whopping 9 queen cells this week, woohoo. So I did drop a cell in the 3 queenless colonies that we rebuilt, so that's good. Hives are still looking absolutely fantastic. They're definitely all over those buckets. They're pretty hungry, I guess. I did swing by a yard yesterday. It was a single yard we pulled honey off of 2 weeks ago. It was a pretty good one. We pulled 34 deep boxes of honey, you know, mixed quality. But I dropped on 34 deep boxes of foundation onto those singles, no excluder. Gave them a 2-gallon bucket of 1-to-1 syrup just like this. Well, when I checked on them yesterday, I think it had been right at 2 weeks since we had pulled the honey and given them the bucket and the foundation. And 30 out of like 34 of the hives were up in that second deep there and were in the prod. They hadn't drawn the whole box, but they were clearly in the process of drawing the frames out. So much so, because I went out there to go put some comb in and to replace some of the foundation, because, you know, it's only a 40 hive yard or something, so I didn't want it to be that foundation stunted. But they were drawing so much that I only ended up adding comb to like 4 of the colonies. And I'm going to swing by tomorrow and top their buckets off, because, yeah, they drank all 2 gallons in 2 weeks, which is pretty normal. I find my hives drink about 1 gallon per week, give or take. And especially the 1-to-1, they can pull that down pretty quick. So anyways, it gives me a lot of hope that these hive and a halves here will draw out this foundation we're putting on. And I'm feeling really good about it. In fact, I'm feeling so good about it that we still have several hundred hive and a halves to go through and medicate and feed and queen check and all that. I'm going to bring supers with us to all of them. I did notice in the last yard that the bees seem to have a preference, and this is probably a yeah duh moment, but they had a preference for the brand new frames we bought that still had a nice coat of wax on the foundation as compared to the old wax moth frames I scraped. But they were still drawing those old wax moth frames. Not as much, but still something. So I don't know if there's still a nectar going on. I don't know if it was the 1-to-1 feed. Obviously they drank the feed, so maybe it was a combination of both. So I don't know. So I'm going to try to gather up all the brand new frames of foundation that we still have out at the house, and we'll take those out, and maybe we can put a few hundred more boxes on, no excluder, and see if we can get them to draw it out. It's going to be a real pain in the butt when I want to take, whether they draw that comb out or not, it is going to be a pain in the butt to pull them off later in the season, because now the queen can be in 3 boxes compared to 2. If it's just foundation, you can usually pick the box up and shake it real hard and she'll usually fall down. But if there's comb, you know, it's going to be a pain. But I'm so desperate for comb. That to me is the lesser evil of trying this, as opposed to me going out and buying several hundred deep boxes of comb from another beekeeper and risking it being infected with foul brood, what have you. And I think even the price of syrup, you know, is going to be probably the same price or less than if I were to go out and buy comb from another beekeeper. And I would rather just have my own comb anyways. And if we do draw it, man, we can even maybe make some honey next year out on comb and not foundation, which would help recoup some of the investment of the syrup. Because if I have to buy more syrup, and if they're drawing the foundation, I have no problems with that, especially when I weigh it against the increased honey production for next year, increased hives for next year, sending the 3rd semi. I mean, a syrup truck is a drop in the bucket when you weigh it against the profit you make on a full semi load into almonds. So well worth it. And I just really want this stuff drawn out. So I know a lot of you guys have been telling me in the comments to try swapping the deep and the medium location. I am going to try that. I'm going to find 1 bee yard and we're going to do it just to see if it makes a difference with them drawing it. I know it'll be easier for us to work because all the brood's in the bottom box and the medium is almost always honey. And I do agree that the bees are going to be more likely to draw the foundation if they're sitting on a box of brood, as opposed to like right now they're sitting on a box of honey. And I agree with you. The reason we did it that way was because our old almond broker just refused. He told me specifically to not have the deep on top. He didn't want it that way. Why? I never asked. I didn't care. So we just always had them that way. But I will make 1 bee yard, and we will kind of weigh it against, you know, these yards, because I know this way works. Maybe your way is better. We will find out. With the few extra cells we had this week, we went around and caged a few more queens. The minis are still producing, and we're not making huge numbers, but every queen helps. So this is the yard here that was drawing the foundation with the 2 gallons. So I brought some more syrup. I'm going to top all the buckets off. And this yard had 8 dead outs. So we had 40 hives out of, we have 48 spots here available. So I'm taking some of the double deeps, had solid boxes of comb. They may have been old dead outs or something we stacked. I don't know why. But the queen is laid in both boxes. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the really good double deeps. I'm just snapping them in half. And I'm just doing a same yard split. I'm bringing them over here. I'm finding the queen. I'm marking her. I'm making sure she's in the right box. Any box. It doesn't matter. One of the two. And then we're taking the mated queens and adding it to the queenless half here. Like some of these bees here being in the split will fly back to this colony over here where I cracked it from, but they're fine. I mean, they're slam full. You know, there's 6 to 8 frames of brood, it seems like, in most of these hives. This is going to be one of our best fall yards. All that out there is just peanuts. I mean, it's just acres and acres and acres of peanuts. There's neighboring fields too. So this is going to have a ton of mustard out here. So I need to really rebuild this location. Plus they're drawing all these frames here slowly. And I just need to get this yard back up in shape. And this is actually a location where if I need to bring in, say, another 48 colonies, I can probably extend this yard. It can handle it. I believe we had about that many in here last year. And last year was cotton, which doesn't produce as much mustard as those peanuts out there do. And they're constantly getting pollen off the peanuts. And the peanuts, I think they spray a dewormer, the farmer told me, but it doesn't actually really cause any harm to the bees. Not that I've ever seen. But last year they had cotton, and I came around here and a lot of the bees, we were just like a shovel full of dead bees in front of all these colonies. I had the bee inspector come out here and pull samples. It was so bad I thought somebody had poisoned the hives, but he told me it was probably the cotton, and he was probably right too. I don't know if it was the defoliant or what, but the cotton had started to die off, you know, a couple of weeks or so after I had the big bee die off. So anyway, the hives did recover, but we definitely took a population hit. But this year, there shouldn't be a problem since it's just peanuts. But I'll be able to rebuild all of this yard except for one. We're still flagging them here. And I'm still going to give them a bucket. Some of them are getting a little honey bound with those singles. I kind of screwed up. I should have brought some supers and put on there, especially if they're drawing foundation. I didn't think about it. I was going to put those queens in the next yard I'm doing today because I had to rebuild like 20, 30 splits a couple weeks ago. And then I realized they've probably hatched a virgin by now. So I don't want to lose our mated queens. So better to just rebuild here. From now on, I'll just bring some additional supers with me. And I think that's what we're going to try to do. We're just going to try to get each yard as close as we can back to 100% capacity. If I'm lucky, we'll lose, you know, maybe only 1 or 2 of these splits will fail. And the rest should take. And we'll just keep trying to rebuild them. All right, that's it for this week. I'm just going to keep running around feeding. And that's really all I can do right now. We got the new buckets. We're finally going to start putting those on. I have run across, there were some buckets somewhere around here, like here. Look at this. This crack wasn't here when we put the buckets. You can see that crack there around the side. It's pretty much gone. There you go. So I am going to go around and replace these with the new ones because I don't even know if this hive even got any food. It may have not. It may have dripped all over them. I haven't looked at them yet. But those old buckets I'm pretty fed up with. But all right, that's it for this week. I'll catch you guys next week. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you later. Bye.